Margaret is eating her breakfast. Maria is sitting nearby. She's not hovering. She's not treating Margaret as though she can't look after herself. She's simply paying attention. But Maria is thinking about what happened a few minutes earlier. Margaret told her she was dizzy. And then Maria saw Margaret become briefly unsteady when she reached for her tea. Margaret says she's okay. So Maria asks herself, is this something I should report? Remember what Karen told Maria before she left the office. If she notices something that concerns her, or something changes, she shouldn't simply assume what to do. She needs to follow her procedures and communicate with the appropriate person. Maria realizes something important. She doesn't need to decide what's wrong with Margaret. That's not her job. But she does need to make sure the information doesn't simply disappear. So Maria stops and thinks about what she actually knows. Margaret didn't sleep well. Margaret told her she feels tired and dizzy. Maria saw her appear briefly unsteady. And right now, Margaret is sitting safely and eating breakfast. Those are things Maria knows because she heard them or saw them. But Maria doesn't know why Margaret is dizzy. She doesn't know whether this is unusual for Margaret. She doesn't know whether it will pass. And she doesn't know whether there's a medical reason behind it. And that's okay. Maria doesn't need to fill in those blanks. She needs to communicate what she actually observed. This is an important part of being a PSW. There's a difference between observing something and deciding what it means. I saw Margaret become unsteady. That's an observation. Margaret is having a medical problem. That's an assumption. Maria doesn't turn her concern into a diagnosis. Instead, she thinks about how she would communicate what happened. She might say, Margaret told me she didn't sleep well and was feeling tired and dizzy this morning. While she was reaching for her tea, I noticed that she appeared briefly unsteady. She is currently sitting safely and eating breakfast. That's very different from saying, I think something is seriously wrong with Margaret. Maria is reporting what she knows. She's not pretending to know what she doesn't know. And that is professional communication. There is another lesson here. Maria might feel nervous about speaking up. She's new. This is her first visit with Margaret. She doesn't want to overreact. She doesn't want to look inexperienced. But asking for help doesn't mean she's failed. In fact, knowing when to speak up is part of professional practice. A PSW doesn't have to handle everything alone. A PSW doesn't have to have all the answers. And a PSW doesn't have to wait until something becomes an emergency before communicating a concern. Sometimes professional judgment is simply recognizing, I noticed something, and someone else needs to know. Maria looks at Margaret. She's finishing her tea. Breakfast was good, Margaret says. Maria smiles. I'm glad you enjoyed it. The morning continues, but Maria has learned something. Being a PSW isn't simply about being helpful. It's about being responsible. Sometimes responsibility means helping someone get dressed. Sometimes it means preparing breakfast. And sometimes it means saying, I noticed something, and I think someone else needs to know. Now put yourself in Maria's position. You've seen what she has seen. You've heard what she has heard. Would you speak up? And if you did, what would you say? Think about what you actually know. Separate the observations from your assumptions. Because the next part of Maria's journey begins with what you decide to communicate.